listening to Two Friends in a Book with Maddy
And Nat?
and this week we're going to be talking about the book Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. What are their real names?
Christina and Lauren.
Well, do they have last names?
I'm sure they do somewhere.
Oh, Christina Hobbs and Lauren Billings. They wrote the Unhoneymooners?
They did.
Wow.
I will say, of all of the books I've read by theirs, though,
Yeah.
that was, like, my least favorite.
Was it really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
The main guy was kind of a dickhead.
Oh.
Not even kind of. He was just a straight-up dickhead.
Okay.
So I didn't love that.
And he was the love interest?
He was the love interest.
Ooh.
It was like a enemies to lovers thing.
Okay.
Now, I'm not a big enemies to lovers person.
Yeah.
I am a friends to strangers to lovers person, though.
Which
is coincidentally love, and her name is Macy.
It is. And Elliot. But he likes to call her Mace, which is cringe. And then she calls him
Elliot.
Oh. Well, no. Well, yes. But there's... Okay, anyway. Back to the story. So, we have Macy, who... Well, this book alternates between that...
It's a dual timeline.
It is.
It's current timeline in which Macy and Elliot are adults, and they're not involved with each other anymore.
Yep.
And then there's a previous timeline, like,
Which is
12 years earlier, I think it starts, the first timeline.
I think so.
When Macy and Elliot are kids and their first meeting.
I loved that first meet when they met in that
in the closet.
In the closet.
I liked it, but it was also, I would be kind of creeped out if I was going on a house tour with my dad and there's just some random kid chilling in the closet.
I know.
I would be a little creeped out.
I'd be like, who? Well, anyway, she meets Elliot in the closet. Kind of weird because they're at an open house and he just happens to have a key that the previous owners left because, that's apparently they don't take the keys back when
no. I think it was more so that it was a occasional vacation house for the previous owners. So the Elliot's family, I can't pronounce his last name, Petropoulos or something like that.
It was a weird... yeah.
So the previous owners gave that family a key to keep an eye on the house when they weren't using it. So, like, house sitting.
See, but then when they clearly are selling the house, though.
Maybe the agent doesn't know that there's another key out there.
Oh.
Conspiracy.
Honestly, Elliot could have been a murderous serial killer this whole time, and he totally could have murdered Macy.
Weren't they, like, 11 or 12 when this book started?
Well, serial killers can start at 11.
Is there a serial killer that has started serial killing at 11? I don't know.
I don't either.
I don't think there is. You should write a book about it.
I should.
An 11-year-old serial killer.
What happens after they meet? Oh, then she...
It's hard to follow it, like, chronologically because every other chapter is bouncing from the current timeline to the previous timeline. So, like, after they meet, then it goes into now at, like, a whatever, 28, 29, however old she is, she runs into him at a coffee shop, and they haven't spoken in, like, 11 years. And, like, fight or flight comes out, and she fucking flies.
Yep. But then he sees her.
And he follows her. And then it sends off, like, the spur of existential crisis.
Yeah. Well, and then she was engaged
to Sean.
Sean?
Sean and his daughter Phoebe. She wasn't engaged to Phoebe, but...
Well, no. That would...
Phoebe's stepmom.
Because Phoebe's 6.
Because Phoebe's real mom was a drug addict.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So she's not in the picture anymore.
Nope. So she left. And now she's dating... or engaged to Sean. Who I didn't really like Sean.
See,
he seemed like too much of a... Well, he was like an art director? No, an artist.
He was an artist. An art guy.
An art guy.
He was an art guy.
He did some art. I do.
Well, so Sean and Macy have been dating, 6 years? I don't know, some long amount of time, and they were engaged, but they hadn't even started planning the wedding yet.
No.
Neither of them were in a hurry to have the wedding like actually happen.
They were only dating.
6 months.
Yes.
Not 6 years.
Yeah.
Different book, guys. Different book.
Isn't that even crazier?
That is even crazier. But when she sees Elliot, that's when she starts thinking, like, oh shit, maybe Sean, like, in the back of her mind. She doesn't acknowledge it, but she starts thinking, like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't be marrying Sean.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because I think it really all started when she brought, when she introduced Elliot to her friend group when they all went out
that
for
picnic.
Mm-hmm. And Sean was not contributing to the conversation.
No, I think Sean's not necessarily a bad guy. He's not the right guy for Macy. Obviously, we know who is because it's a book with a happy ending.
Right.
But
well,
there's no murder. It's a fairly happy.
But there is death.
Jesus Christ, there is.
What, you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong?
You're gonna look at me and you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong? Her sister was a witch!
Doug.
His name's not Doug. Oh. Her sister was a witch, bro!
I thought his name was Doug.
I don't think it's Doug.
Okay.
Anyway. Sean, I don't think is a bad guy, but I think for both him and Macy, it's a relationship of convenience, not of, like, love.
I think they even say that to each other.
Well, yeah, I think they do, too. It's like, it's not a relationship built off of, like, loving each other. It's more so convenience and companionship. They're friends throughout the whole thing, but they never seem to, like, have any more of a relationship than having sex every once in a while. And she makes it a point to talk about many times throughout the book how Sean and Phoebe have their own life and she's just kind of like a side character in their life.
Yeah.
So, like, she's supposed to be his fiance, which should be a pretty big role in his life and his daughter's life, but she's just kind of on the sidelines, which she also has a very intensive job. She's a pediatric doctor, a pediatrician, I think is what pediatric doctors call.
Probably, actually.
She treats sick kids.
Yeah.
So she works a lot, and she's a resident, so she doesn't have good hours, working, like,
all the time.
Absurd amount of time for
holidays,
not very much money.
Nights, weekends. Yep.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time.
What are your thoughts on Elliot himself?
On Elliot himself?
Mm-hmm.
Like, after she meets him at the coffee shop, Elliot himself?
Let's start with child Elliot.
Well, it's a kid. They're both obviously children, so
right.
Interesting to see the perspectives. Macy's perspective. We don't see Elliot's perspective in the book, but see them growing up and how she kind of clings to his family because it's something that she doesn't have other than her dad.
Yep.
And
I think ends up dying at the end.
Spoiler alert.
Well,
this entire thing is a spoiler.
It is. Yeah.
But Elliot is like. She needs an Elliot in her life. She has nobody other than her dad. So she needs a friend who's not going to, like, walk on eggshells around her just because her mom's dead. Also, spoiler alert, her mom's been dead since she was, like, 10.
Yeah, I think that's in the beginning of the book.
It is in the beginning of the book. It's in the prologue.
It is. Well, yeah.
It is in the prologue.
But also, Elliot, at the very end, when he, quote-unquote, cheats on her with Emma. Yeah, her name's Emma. And then
you just jumped like 99% of the book, my friend.
I did.
You did.
I just really want to talk about this.
So let's roll it back a little bit, just a tad bit. So they meet when they're 12, and then Maddy just thinks the book jumps straight to 18. So they meet when they're 12.
Yep.
Macy and her dad go to this cabin almost every weekend, every other weekend. As she gets older, it's more spread out because her dad's got stuff to do. She's got stuff going on. And throughout this 5 years that they're friends, the relationship progresses from friendship to eventually she has a crush on him and he has a crush on her, but they don't want to admit it because they're awkward teenagers.
Yep.
I think we've all been there.
Yep.
But one thing that Macy keeps coming back to is that Elliot has a life outside of what she sees on the weekends because they're only friends on the weekends. So she doesn't know about his day-to-day life other than what he tells her.
Yep.
So then she finds out that he's got this, not necessarily girlfriend or friends with benefit, but this girl that he's friends with named Emma.
And she clearly likes him.
Who really likes him. He's hooked up with her a couple times, and Macy is super jealous, even though she won't, like, openly admit that she's jealous.
Yep.
And eventually that all comes to heads at the end of the book. The end of the book, but the end of, like, their relationship. Because they start dating when she's, like, 16.
Yeah.
This summer.
Yep.
They'd only been dating for, like, 6 months by the time,
yep.
like, the big fight happened.
Well.
Yeah, oh, so they started dating.
Yep.
They started dating, and Elliot was like, don't worry about Emma. She's just a friend. I don't have feelings with her. She knows I don't have feelings with her. And then Macy and Elliot are dating and happy ever after for 6 months.
And then it all
goes to shit.
Shit. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how I feel about that. About the whole situation.
I got some thoughts on it. I'm gonna let you give your thoughts, and then I'll give my thoughts.
Okay, and then we'll reconvene.
Then we'll reconvene our thoughts together.
Okay, so basically, as a synopsis of what happens, is she's at a separate New Year's Eve party with her dad, and then Elliot is at his own separate New Year's Eve party at, like, his buddy Christian's house or something. And he calls Macy at
right before midnight.
Yeah. Did I call her Lily?
No, you called her Macy.
Yeah, what about... Okay. Anyway, I just got done reading the other Christina Lauren book.
Something Wilder.
And her name's Lily in that.
It is Lily.
Okay, well, anyway. This one's Macy.
It is Macy.
Okay. So Macy, anyway, answers the call, and he's pretty drunk, I think, right? And plot twist, he wants to marry her.
Yeah, proposal at 18. That's worked
over
out.
The phone.
That's worked out for everyone that's done that before.
Yeah. Over the phone, and he's drunk. So not a good move right from the beginning. And then she is upset about that, right? Because
I think she's taken back by it, not necessarily upset about it, but then their phone call ends kind of weird because he wants her to come to the party, and
and he said, "I love you."
Well, yeah. No, she said, "I love you," and he was, like, kind of weird about it.
No, I think it's the other way around.
I think it's... Let me see.
Well, if he literally proposed to her...
Well, yeah, but then it ended weird, and she was super upset because of how the phone call ended.
Yeah. And then she talks to her dad, right?
Yeah, and she talks to her dad, and...
Her dad's like, you need to go... Or you can go take the car. No.
Yeah.
Yep.
Take the car, just call me as soon as you get there.
Yep. But she never did. She shows up, and Christian, being the dick he is like, you don't... no. He didn't say that. Christian said, he, as in Elliot, is upstairs. And then this other guy, maybe his name was Brandon? I don't know. Was like, oh, you don't want to go up there. Well, she goes up there anyway, and then sees Elliot
with a naked Emma on top of him.
Yes, and he's naked on the bed.
He is naked. They're both naked.
Yep.
They were doing naked things. So, okay, I found the part of the book why the phone call ended weird.
Okay.
So he wants her to come up to the party that night for the midnight kiss to ring in the new year. Yep. And she says no, that she can't. And then she says, Elle, go have fun, but be careful. You can give me my New Year's kiss next Saturday. And then he says, K. That's a good move. Never say K to anyone. And then she says good night, and he doesn't say anything for a second, and then she says L, and he says night, and then hangs up on her. So then she is, like, super stressed because
Is there a sad one?
There's a cheer. What about yell?
What?
Yeah, my reaction too, man.
Yeah, what? And all he wanted was the little New Year's Eve.
That was the weirdest kiss I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, that's not how a normal human kisses.
That sounded like Daffy Duck.
Yeah, honestly, it did.
Anyways.
Yep.
So she's super stressed about how this phone call ends, so she asks her dad if she can take the car and go up to the cabin, and, like you said, finds him naked in bed with Emma. So then she freaks out and goes to her cabin, which
Yep.
is like across town from where Christian's house was.
Yep.
And then
Just kind of.
she falls asleep
Yep.
on the ground, like on the floor, without even turning the heat on. And she forgets to call her dad to
Yep.
let him know that she made it safe, which is a very important point, that she forgets to call her dad.
See, and I would never do that. I always called my mom, or else she would have.
Beat ya?
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. She did not like it when I did not call her. So shame
Well,
on you.
And
Macy.
there was foreshadowing at the end of that chapter too, because it says, I just lost it.
There's a lot of foreshadowing in this book.
Yeah, so that chapter where she finds Elliot and Emma, the very last sentence, or the last part of the last sentence, says that she has a comfortable echo that I'd somehow missed something important but didn't know what it was, hinting that she is forgetting to call her dad. So then the next morning, Pops shows up, and
Good old Duncan.
He shows up and he sees that she's fine, but she's been crying all night, and she says, well, he cheated on me. So then he ends up driving her home, and the vehicle that she drove up in stays at the cabin. Never actually figured out what happened to that vehicle. She said that she never saw it again after that day.
Yep.
And this is the part that fucked me up.
Yep.
This part, well, not this part specifically. What after this part fucked me up. But on their drive home, there was some idiot. I don't remember if he was drunk or just driving recklessly, but causes a car accident, and her dad is dead on scene. Essentially because she didn't call him the night before, which is the whole reason he came up. Not her fault, but she blames herself.
Yeah, she does. And then she's pissed off at Elliot and doesn't feel like she can call him.
Well, yeah, so she's thinking,
right?
So this entire 11 years that they haven't been in touch, she's assuming that he knew her dad died that night.
And
just didn't reach out.
But did he reach out to her?
He tried, but I think he tried like calling or emailing a couple times, and she didn't want to talk to him because her dad just died. He cheated on her. She's upset. And then eventually he stops trying.
But Elliot thought, though, because he confesses at the end that he thought he was sleeping with Macy.
So he was obviously very drunk.
Yep.
So that's what happened in the old timeline. In the current timeline, she and Sean break up.
Yep.
And she goes to Thanksgiving with Elliot.
No, the wedding.
Well, she goes to Thanksgiving at his apartment first.
Oh,
and Elliot's previous girlfriend, who he had broke up with the day that he saw her again for the first time, Rachel, I forgot her name, is there, and it was super awkward. And then he invites her to his brother's wedding.
Yep.
So she goes to the wedding with him.
Yep. Because
they decided they're going to, give this a try, right? They're going to try and date, and then...
Well, I think they go to, a field, right?
Yeah, they get it on in a fucking patch of trees.
Hey,
To each their own, man.
To each their own. I guess it's a wedding, so you never know. But then he got drunk again or something.
Elliot says, I've never wanted anyone the way I want you. It took a long time before I wanted anyone else physically at all. And that made Macy freak out. And then they start fighting about what happened that night, and Elliot says that she never let him explain what happened. And that was the night that he said he loved her for the first time. He said he loved her at the beginning of the phone call, and then he goes and cheats on her and asked her to marry him. So then they start fighting about what happened that night because they didn't know.
Oh, so this is where it all comes out.
Yeah, this is where Elliot confesses that he thought that it was Macy the entire time.
Yikes.
And then he says that he tried calling her, and she never answered the calls. She she never checked her old email account after that happened either, so he was emailing her too, but she never even read them.
Oh yeah, because they used to email back and forth, didn't they? But what, she just ignored all of his texts?
Well, yeah, so she was also grieving her dad, like planning a funeral.
Yeah.
So answering your boyfriend who just cheated on you probably wouldn't be at the forefront of your mind.
Yeah. Probably not. Especially since her dad was like she was very
she was very
close
close with her dad.
because her mom died. But also, here's the thing about the dad that I get a little weirded out by is he just let her go up to that closet with this boy. And I know there was a few times in the book where the dad's like,
It's once they get old enough to be like horny teenagers, that's when dad's like, let's.
But see, they still had sex in the closet.
They did, but dad left for a little bit.
See, my mom would never have done that. My mom would have been like, I'm not leaving to go to the grocery store.
Maddy, this is fiction.
Okay, but
like I get it. My parents also wouldn't have left me alone like that. But this is also a fiction book, and they needed to further the plot by having teenagers have sex with each other.
Honestly, though, well, no, because the dad went somewhere another time too, and then they were like fooling around in her living room.
Oh yeah, her living room.
And then the dad comes home, and they're like scrambling, and
yes.
I'm like, that.
Yikes.
That. Yep.
Okay, so this fight that happens at the wedding in the current timeline, he's explaining his side of it, and she hasn't told him yet what happened to her dad, and she doesn't want to talk about it. And she says that, I want you, but I'm realizing now that maybe I shouldn't, and she just lets him walk away instead of like telling him actually what happened. Mm-hmm. So then they get in this huge fight, and she takes a lift back to her cabin, which she still owns. After her dad died, she owned it and just turned it into like a rental, a vacation rental.
Oh, yep.
So she goes to the cabin, and this is the part where I fucking lost it.
Oh,
I fucking lost it, man. So she goes back to the cabin, and she hadn't been back since like the day her dad died.
Yep.
Maybe once she went back with her uncle, who looks just like her dad, to pack everything up and put like their important stuff in a locked closet. And she's like in front of this closet where all of this stuff is, and it still smells like him. Mm-hmm. And she breaks down because she smells him, and then she hears a guy talking, and she thinks it's her dad.
Oh.
Which she got her hopes up that dad is still alive. He's here. I'm talking to him. And then it turns out it's just fucking Elliot.
God damn it,
Elliot follows her back from the wedding. After he lets her go home by herself, he follows her back from the wedding.
Yep. And after he left her go while she is distraught.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know about this Elliot guy.
Then she tells him what happened, and he's like, oh my God, I never knew that your dad died.
Ah.
And then from there, it's true love. More stuff happens. Not ton. Did they sell her house in San Francisco? No, they keep it and they use it as a rental.
Yeah.
Her house that she hadn't been in since her dad died, even though Homegirl's 29 and owns 2 properties and has an apartment with her fiance at the beginning of the book.
And is a pediatrician?
I am 24. I can barely rent half of an apartment. So
same.
Not doing as well as Miss Macy Sorensen is. Long story short, they fall in love and they end up. Did they get engaged at the end of the book, or did they just like stay together?
I think they just stayed together. I don't think they.
I don't think that they. Oh no, they just moved in together.
Into his place, right?
No, they got a different apartment. The two of them got an apartment, and they just moved in together. Have you ever seen that trend where you like, do you think couples from books would stay together after the end of the book? Mm-hmm. I feel like this is one couple that will stay together.
Oh yeah.
Towards the end of the book.
Oh yeah. I think because they've known each other since they were like 12 and have always had the hots for each other. Mm-hmm. And then the huge 11-year gap, and now they're finally back together. I don't think they're gonna. Well, yeah, they've got
this whole history.
Mm-hmm.
They got the whole history, and maybe that's where the like enemies to lovers versus like friends to strangers to lovers comes in, because I feel like most of the enemies to lovers books I've read, I feel like 99% of those, after the book ends, that couple isn't staying together for more than a couple months. But the friends to strangers to lovers, I feel like they usually have a shot at staying together.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
What books are you reading right now, Maddie? What are you reading right now?
Well, I just finished Something Wilder by the same authors.
Also very much
Very
enjoyed
good.
that.
We'll have to do a podcast on that, because that's a whole separate...
That one was a wild frickin' ride. It was really a very fun book.
It really lives up to its name.
That's what I said when I texted the group chat saying you guys have to read this. Like, it totally lived up to its name.
Oh, yeah. And then, Lolita. I'm still attempting to
see. I have Lolita.
I'm listening to it though, which makes it a little bit better.
I have Lolita, and I haven't gotten past the first 50 pages because I am just too stupid to read it.
I think it's better when you listen to it.
I tried to, but the audiobook that I found for it on Scribd was in a language that I don't speak. I thought it was English when I saved it at first. It was not English, so I got rid of it. And then it was like a ridiculous wait on Libby, so I just bought the book instead. And I haven't gotten past page 50 yet. I'm going to read it. I did just finish reading, it's not Enemies to Lovers, but My Dark Vanessa, which is like kind of the same premise as Lolita, and it talks about Lolita a lot in that book. And I have to say, that book was so fucked up. It was so fucked up. You're going to have to read it, and we'll talk about that one. Because we
gotta figure out what our next book's going to be.
I had a lot of thoughts on it,
Excellent.
and most of them were repulsive. The book was just physically repulsive, but in a way, I don't want to say in a good way because it's about a fucking pedophile, but in an important way, as in it's a conversation that needs to be had more.
Oh yeah, because
little girls are still getting groomed, even in 2023. So there's still a lot of pedophiles out there. I think the last Enemies to Lovers book I read, which I don't even know if you can call it Enemies to Lovers because the series isn't done yet. So I don't know if they actually end up together. But the Once Upon a Broken Heart series by Stephanie Garber.
Oh, are they enemies in that?
Kind of. I'd say they're kind of enemies. I don't know. I don't really read a lot of them because I don't really enjoy them that much.
Yeah. Same. I can't remember the last. I'll have to look on my Goodreads too. Eventually. Figure that out. We have to figure out what our next book's going to be. So people can...
Unrelated. I'm also reading a book called The Sanatorium right now.
Oh.
I'm only 2 chapters in, but it's about this old tuberculosis hospital that's turned into a luxury hotel, and people start getting murdered.
Oh, hells yeah. I love a good murder.
My hairstylist recommended it to me, and
Is it really good?
I'm only 2 chapters in.
Well,
I'm hoping... I like it so far. I'm hoping that the rest of the book stays as good as the first couple chapters.
Excellent. I hate when it's really good in the beginning.
There's mixed reviews on Goodreads. Some people love it, and some people say the first 20 chapters are great, and then the rest of it sucks. I tend to give books pretty high ratings, though. I'm easily pleased by a book.
Ooh, what rating did you give Love in Other Words?
I gave it 5 stars. I thought I only gave it 4.
No, you did that for Something Wilder.
Oh, yes. I gave it 5 stars. Thinking back, I'd probably give it more of a 4.5. Just because the whole, Emma Elliot sex thing is really iffy for me. It was a really good book. It did make me sob like a fucking baby. I'm not a super emotional person, so it takes a lot for a book to make me cry. And this one did it. This one did it. And I don't know if it's because it was just really sad. Or if because I just needed to cry.
I think, it
was good. I did very much enjoy the book.
I did like it too. It did not make me cry, but I could see how it would make someone cry.
Yes.
If that helps.
Okay. Thank you for validating my feelings,
You're
Maddie.
welcome.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I love the validation.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. You know?
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway.
I think that's all we got for today, folks.
I think that is all we got. This is what we do on Two Friends in a Book.
2 friends in a book. We talk about bullshit, and we say it's about a book.
Yep. With co-host Mad.
I have never heard you refer to yourself as Mad ever in my life.
No, I haven't either.
Just go Maddie.
But you know what?
It doesn't, they don't have to be the same letters. Maddie and Nat rolls off the tongue better than Mad and Nat.
Oh, you're right.
I am right.
Well, we might have to change our logo.
It's not on our logo, is it?
Yes, it is.
Oh. Well, we're going to change our logo to Maddy and Nat. I thought it was Maddy and Nat on there. No. Okay, well, keep your eyes out for the new logo.
Yeah, we're going to argue about this off
We're going to
air.
All right. See ya, folks.
Bye.